Welcome. I am kind of field testing a new theory about schizophrenia. If you look too closely at how I'm testing it, you will see the cracks of reality and you'll go much madder than you could ever be. But as long as you have, let's say, some level of competency of doing this research yourself and not just taking my word for it, you might find interesting results. Since most antipsychotics are dopamine and serotonin blockers, I thought what would happen if you give selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors to schizophrenics? What would happen? The results were less than promising. And then I thought about selective dopamine reuptake inhibitors. What would they do? Since I've never heard anyone mention those medications, I wasn't even sure they exist. But the initial tests that I have performed indicate that they do not have the same sedative effect as current antipsychotics, but they do calm you a little bit. And their main effect seems to be that the instant recognition of something that you do as being holy simply because you recognize it is greatly diminished. It seems that it works like I would hope a schizophrenic medication works. It dulls the sense of your own being holy and it increases your awareness of other holies or other truths. And from the field tests that I performed, it seems like it dulls the sense of, oh, I recognize this pattern, it must be holy. I can't put it in any other way. And it seems to have a dulling effect on the negative aspect of the voices. With normal sedatives, you can still push through them, but it is an insane amount of work. For my 3-month dose, for the perhaps first few days, you feel very sedated. But after the first few days wear off, there is virtually no effect that you can distinguish. You feel a little dull, but that's about it. But for this medication, the first tests indicate that it might work the way I would hope a schizophrenic medication works. It seems to not block out the psychic phenomena, which I'm very interested in not blocking out. It does not make you believe anything strange in that it doesn't make you believe that you were suddenly wrong about, telepathy or what have you. That's not schizophrenia, that's religion. But when you have a situation where you send out a thought and you get a negative response, say you're looking at somebody in the street and go think to yourself, that person is hot. And they send out the signal of don't look at me. You don't have the desire to immediately challenge that. You go like, curious, and you move to the next topic. But when you have somebody who resonates with you, it doesn't seem to dull your sense of what they think, unlike the normal sedatives. And it doesn't seem to have an effect of dulling the mind in the way that the normal dopamine serotonin blockers do. It doesn't turn you into a childlike state where you are easily controlled and manipulated, and then due to the fact that you're in a situation that you'd rather not be, you push against that ease of control and then become an angry, low affect person. So from what I can see, and this is preliminary, this medication that I noted belongs to a group of medications that I would hope are along the path that we have desired. They cut the feedback loop of the brain where you send out something and you get a result and you then send out the same thing with slight alteration again and you get a positive response again, and you go into a feedback loop of nonsense that may not be very healthy to you. And this feels like it stops that feedback loop without interfering with the basic functions of thought, mind, telepathy, what have you. The societal reactions seem to be one of a great deal of hurry and confusion initially, and people who have involved themselves in the field, who know from experience what schizophrenics are and have interacted with schizophrenics, seem to be off balance for a moment when the medicine adjusts, but they do not seem to be harmed by it. And the people who used to be the schizophrenic mindless type, where you just go randomly from place to place and try to do something interesting, seem to be much more focused and much more intently driven towards a logical goal, a singular goal, instead of just randomly throwing energy about. So, this, to me, from what I see, might be along the lines of what we were looking for. So, in short, I would recommend some form of larger human study on uh, both the non-patient and the patient type, with both current medication and new to medication in selective dopamine reuptake inhibitors, varied type and different, and seeing which of them is good and which of them is bad. And I do not have the access to resources that would allow such a study, but I will put it in the astral, and I imagine that it will be responded to as such based on the positivity of the results that I have had. So keep in mind that within a few months, perhaps a year, we might see something along the lines of new revolutionary drug for schizophrenia found, or along the lines of study in the schizophrenia deemed too necessary, too dangerous. So we will see something, I believe. So keep in mind that this might be all bullwhack, so it doesn't work. But from what I sense and what I've seen, this might very well be the path that we are choosing, or rather prefer to be going on. So I can see on the map that they are interested in studying, which means that if these guys are interested, the interest will percolate to the real world fairly quickly. So some researcher somewhere might suddenly get the idea of, dopamine reuptake inhibitors, and then that will go forward. But the hive mind, if you will, is now aware of it and is into doing research on it. So, thank you. And this has been a short update.